Hello and welcome to In the Game, Qatar's first sports podcast. We've got a very special day today because we've got a wonderful show and all the way from Kenya. So we're streaming live to Kenya today. Um,
Yes,
yeah, and you've got this wonderful smile and everybody's can
thank
guess
you.
already. You have got that presenter look. It's wonderful. So do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yes, thank you so much, Steve. I'm so humbled to be on your podcast. This is so exciting. Yeah, so my name is Shon Osimbo. I'm a sports broadcaster. I've been in the industry for 9 years now. I started out on the international scene and then came back on the local scene. So quickly, let's just break it down how I got into this. So I got to love sports through my dad. That is Justice Aseka. He's such a wonderful man. I've always been a daddy's girl growing up, and he used to love watching football. So we used to do everything together. But when it came to like watching football, he'd literally forget he has a daughter. So just to be in that space with him, I decided why not. So when he's watching football, because I want to also continue just hanging out with him. So why not? Let me just chill with him, sit with him, talk with him, and stuff like that. So it was so amazing to actually sit there with him and talk to him about football. In Kenya, the English Premier League is such a big deal, and my dad is an Arsenal supporter, and
Dear me.
also yes, so amazing. And also the local league, that is the Kenyan Premier League. He supports FC Leopards. But the most fair thing I didn't end up supporting Arsenal. So we support the same local team, but we don't support the same international team. I'm actually a Liverpool supporter, and we just won the league after 30 years.
I couldn't believe my friend Bosco, and I can't see whether he's online today. So, and everybody, I can't see the messages on my right hand side. So I do
Mhm.
apologise. I can't see everybody saying hello and etc. But Bosco is one of our biggest fans, and
Mhm.
I'm sure he's going to be there. But the great thing about Bosco is he's a Liverpool supporter too. So he done this video with everybody celebrating in Qatar. It was incredible
Oh
with Qatar so
wow.
huge.
Wow.
So there's a load of fans here in Qatar. I think it's the biggest team here, the biggest
Yeah.
fan base. It's incredible. So yeah, you must be celebrating.
Yeah, we are. Despite the COVID, we are still celebrating. But in Kenya now, most supporters, most fans are either Arsenal or Manchester United. So the biggest, what is it called? The biggest rivalry in Kenya is actually when Manchester United play Arsenal. It's like crazy. There's even a song about it that goes, kati ya Man U na Arsenali gani kali, that is in Swahili, means between Arsenal and Manchester United, which is the top team, and everyone, like when you're going out or in the club, you're always shouting their team. It's either Arsenal or Manchester United. So that is the biggest rivalry in Kenya. So, but there's quite a number of Liverpool fans, and yes, we've been celebrating champions after 30 years. Oh my goodness, Jurgen Klopp is a genius. So yeah, so during that moment when my dad was watching Arsenal and his local team, that is FC Leopards, I actually got to love football slowly, and he would explain to me, the offside rules, the cards, the referee positions, and all that, and that's how I got to actually love football till now. And then through that, I went on to actually just, I decided, oh, sports is actually fun. It's just not football alone. As much as my strength is in football, I'm also a huge Formula One supporter, and I love Mercedes. And yes, one day I have to come for the Abu Dhabi GP. I have to. I'm praying to God that I attend at least one of the circuits. Yeah, so I got into Formula One, and I love Formula One, and yeah, and everything. Sometimes my friends keep on asking me, how do you watch Formula One? Just fast cars. I said there's a lot. It comes
It,
to the team, the drivers, the timing, the preparations, the tests. So when you break it down at least like that for them, they get to understand. Yes, Steve.
do you have Netflix in Kenya?
Yes, we have Netflix in Kenya.
Have you seen the documentary on the Grand Prix?
Drive to Survive. Yes, Steve,
What
I
it was,
have both
it
seasons.
was I shouldn't tell my business partner, but I had a crazy couple of days where I watched nothing but this series, one after the other. It was
Yes.
brilliant.
It
It
is
was
so
brilliant.
addictive. And what I liked about Drive to Survive, especially season one, people got to understand what goes into it and actually appreciate the mid-table teams, because most of the time it's always about Mercedes, Ferrari, but this time you'd know what Haas and the rest are doing. So it was actually very nice to actually know what is happening in the mid-table when it comes to Formula One, and also to know the other drivers apart from Hamilton and Vettel and Verstappen. So it's actually a very, very nice way of marketing the sport. And I think for the longest time, especially to Africa, people think, Formula One is all about the rich people. Okay, fine, Formula One is very expensive, but I believe anyone, even if you hear about Hamilton's journey, you can actually drive a Formula One car. You can actually be in Africa and you love go-karting and you put your hard work into it, and you never know, one day you can be a Formula One driver. So that is what I liked about the Netflix series.
And do you think we're ever going to get a Grand Prix in Africa? Are we going to get a driver coming?
I think back in 1994, South Africa held one. It's all about infrastructure, I think. It's all about infrastructure and investing. And there was one governor in Kenya, actually, who wanted to do a Grand Prix here in the country, but it's actually expensive. But Africa has the potential. As long as we have, we put corruption on the side, we actually defeat corruption, I feel, and we just invest. Because, Africans actually also pay a lot of tax, especially in Kenya, we pay a lot of tax. So the money isn't enough to do all these things. But what eats up Africa most of the time is corruption. So once we deal with that, why not? Not even just one country. I feel we can have several African countries, the way Europe are doing. We can have several African countries actually having their own GPs.
Let me take you a little bit back in your story. So yes. You said that you were a daddy's girl. When did you realize, okay, he was taking you to the football matches, but when did you realize that you wanted to get into sports on a full-time basis? It was going to be your career?
Nice question, Steve. So, so through that, watching and going to the games and doing all that with him, when I went to university, we were very close. So we talked, what do you want to do? I told him, something to do with IT. So we decided, okay, instead of doing IT, he suggested I do information sciences. So information sciences, as much as it has IT, it has record keeping, and it also has media studies and publishing. I was like, okay, you can do all of them and then major during the fourth year. So we did that. And then when we got there, and when we got to third year, I was invited for a football show, because I used to chill out with my friends. And when the matches are happening, I'm talking about the matches, I'm actually contributing. And the boys were like, she knows football. She can talk about football.
That's brilliant.
Yes. And one day, the faculty I was in, they had a radio station. So one of the boys invited me. He's like, okay, why not? Come, let's talk about football. And I went there, and oh my goodness, the ratings for the campus radio blew up. And I was like, oh my goodness, we love your voice. Oh my goodness, she knows football. Oh my goodness. So from that's when they put that voice in me. Oh my goodness. Okay, fine. I'm doing information technology, but there's actually something here, and my heart actually loves this. So I talked to my friends, I talked to my dad, and during the fourth year, that's when I decided to do publishing and media studies. So I majored. For the past 3 years, I was like into IT. But when it came to my last year, I majored into publishing and media studies. And through the radio, one of my lecturers actually was like, oh my goodness, you're really good. Let's see what you can do. They called up a local TV station. They said, we have this lady. She's really good at what she does. If kindly you guys can give her internship, we would appreciate. So I went for the interviews, I passed, and that's how I got into TV through internship, from just a simple few episodes on the radio that everyone fell in love with, and everyone kept on talking about my voice, and everyone kept on talking about my football knowledge.
Dear me, that's so good. And I know that women empowerment is a big thing throughout the world right now, and it too. And it's wonderful. Did you have any negative sides of trying to get into that side of the business, or was everybody just trying to help you?
No. Yes, of course, there's the negative side. In campus, everyone was very supportive, but when you go into now the job market, that is a whole different ball game. And of course, not everyone was supportive, because when you talk about football, they're like, there's still that stereotype: a woman knows football, how? Or they would say, oh, you're just into football because you're just into boys. What? No. I've been watching, what they didn't understand is that I've been watching football all my life because of my dad, you see. And so you have to prove yourself. So I had to prove myself. I felt like I had to work like 10 times harder than the men on the desk, on the news desk. I had to continuously push myself into different levels. I had to continuously research, because when the men used to make a mistake, I'd be like, that's just a mistake. But when a woman makes a mistake, you're like, you see, we said she doesn't know, she has no clue. So you have to.
I'm sorry for laughing.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I always had to be on my A game all the time. Like, it's so sad, but for me, there was no room for mistakes. And yet, mistakes are the ones that actually make us grow in life. But I couldn't afford that, because I had also young ladies who are looking up to me. So I cannot let them down, because they also want to venture into this market. And especially in Africa, you can imagine being a woman of sports in Africa. It's like crazy. It's like different. It's like, how? Where? Go do news about health matters. Go do news about the rate of births in the country. You're like, what? That's not me. So there was also this notion that when it comes to female reporters or females in the broadcast industry, that you're into health, or not even politics, just health. I don't know why health. Why health? Men can also be, I don't know. So yeah, I had to work extremely hard, because also so many people are looking up to me. They were like cheering me on. And that paid off, because I went for the internship 3 months, and then immediately CGTN Africa, the Chinese station, they opened the African bureau in Kenya. And I applied. I remember applying. My small sister calls me. It's like, okay, this new big station that is actually coming into the country. Please apply. I apply, and immediately 10 minutes later, they call me. They're like, yeah, you can come for the interview. And 4 interviews later, because you know how international media is like crazy, 4 interviews later, I was in. I was hired. And yes, that's my story.
And
but again,
it's your
hard
smile.
work.
It's your smile. It's your
Thank
enthusiasm.
you, Steve.
Oh my God. And did you have any women that were your examples that you aspired to when you were younger?
Yes. There's this lady who works in South Africa. Her name is Carol Shabalala. I think we call her the queen of sports in Africa. I think she's the one who broke the barriers to make this possible for us, because she was working on the biggest sports channel in Africa, that is Super Sport. They're the ones who have the deal with the Premier League to bring the matches in Africa, to air the matches in Africa. So just, waking up every morning and looking up to her and seeing what she was doing, it was so amazing. And she has always been that beacon of hope. She has always been that icon. So, sometimes when people are saying all these things behind the scenes, but then you put on your TV and you're watching your Premier League matches and you see her, she has like panelists, she's talking to them, she's like, she knows the game. It was very motivating for me. It was very motivating for me. I didn't give up.
No, and that's the with being an inspiration, because you are an inspiration, right?
Thank
You're
you.
an inspiration, and for so many young girls, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
And do you feel that responsibility on your shoulders?
Yes, Steve, I do. And most of the time, this comes immediately. You have left, what is it called? You have just left the screen, and when you go on your social media, you have all these messages from across the country, people who are inspired, people who want to know how you got to where you got to, people who want to actually, grow, people who are very curious, people. That's why we have to continuously talk about our story, so people understand the journey has not been easy, but there's nothing impossible on this planet. So you have,
Yeah.
if as long as you put your mind to it, as long as you put your heart into it. For me, it's also the passion, because sports is a passionate side. So you have to have that passion, and the passion, trust me, one way or the other, things will work out. they will
It
work
will
out.
shine through. It
Yes.
will shine through without a
Yes.
shadow of a doubt. You're such a wonderful. That's what we always dreamt about within the game, because it was always about, we wanted to get people on the show that had a story to tell that was
Hmm.
going to inspire others for one purpose or another. And when we get guests like you on, and already we've had a host of things that people can learn from.
Yeah.
These are the powerful things, because we're a human race, and we've lived the whole existence of the human race with storytelling, whether that's been the paintings on the caves and how we've evolved as individuals, as a race, and you just look at those things. We storytell. It's like,
Yes.
that's why butchers always, the sons followed on in their father's footsteps. And that's
Yes.
what it was, right? Because we
Yeah.
told the stories and we inspired them. So to have people out there like you, that kind of is not, they want something and they want that burning desire, then we should watch you and we should listen to your story. And that's why you're so important. And being able to put a spotlight on you, to look up and say, hey, look, it's okay. And just like you just did, it's okay. You can do whatever you
Yes.
want to do. Just
Yes.
believe. And that's what I get from you. That's what I get from you. So that's a wonderful
Thank you.
message today. Yeah.
Yes.
Now going on to the presentation side, what was it like in the beginning? Because I know what it was like. I'm no presenter, by the way. I'm not, I just like people's story. So
Hmm.
I find it quite easy, but I get nervous. How do you prepare yourself? And what was it like in the beginning to do sports presenting?
Yes. Let me just go back because this story actually gets twisted up a bit. So,
Okay.
when I joined the international media, that is CGTN Africa, as much as I wanted to do sports, I ended up being a broadcast writer because
Okay.
I think also my age contributed to that. I think I was 20. I just had turned 21, so they were not sure. They were like, okay, she knows what she's doing, but she's still pretty young for the market. So I ended up being a broadcast writer, and that is for 4 years. And I was literally stressed. I did it without my whole heart. But remember now, this time when I joined, that is when the Arab Spring was happening, Steve. So
Right.
it was heavy stuff, and so there was also that part, and there was the corruption in Africa. Now it was from it was from sports now to all these hard news stories, and that really became heavy on my heart. But Steve, I didn't give up. I also gave it my all. So even if you want to talk to me about politics, I'll tell you about politics. If you want to talk to me about health, I'll tell you about health. Because now from that, I became a very good researcher. Because with hard news, you have to read a lot. You have to always be online or with the books, researching and doing your good research, because you can't also be caught off guard. And also, hard news is very sensitive. I say politics is very sensitive. So you need to know who you're talking to and who you're discussing it with. So you need to be alert and always be creative and always push hard to know what is happening. So that is what exactly was going on. So I did it for 4 years. And by the time I was leaving, my heart was heavy because that is not what I wanted to do. But sometimes God sends you into some water so that you can understand. I will connect this with how it helps me now in my presentation. So through CGTN, I learned how to write, to produce, to report, to voice, and to know what the anchor needs. I used to even write the questions that the presenter is going to read on air to other reporters or to other correspondents across Africa. So that is what happened. So 4 years later, I'm like, oh my goodness. So they gave me a few chances to do sports. I helped cover the 2012 London Olympic Games. I helped cover the African Cup of Nations, but it was not enough because I wanted to be fully involved. So anyway, I moved away, and also the power of social media. Everything I used to do, especially on the sports side, I used to put it on social media. Mostly I'm very active on Twitter and LinkedIn, and then I used to update and all that and all that. Steve, I didn't know the country was actually watching. So 4 months after I left CGTN, just on this, I think I was leaving my friend's place. I was going back to my place. I get this random phone call. Hello, how are you? We are interested in your services. I had not applied for anything. We are interested in your services. Please, that you're going to meet the CEO of this company tomorrow. I'm like, okay, what is happening? But all I heard is that you're going to meet the CEO of this company. He's coming up with a sports show. what? Sports what? What did I hear? Oh my goodness, quickly the next day I prayed. I was like, God help me, da, da, da. I was like nervous, da, 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 but I met him and and then he told me, okay, I'm coming up with this show. But then we know you've been covering hard news, but you just have to show us that you are ready for this show. So kindly come up with a running order of what is expected, what you think this show will look like. We are putting everything in your hands. And this is what happened, Steve. Everything I had learned at CGTN came in handy at that specific point because I wrote the running order. I came up with how the show would look like. It would be a bit of magazine, but it would start with local news. I knew how it would flow everything. I did it. I sent it on the email, and immediately they called me. They're like, "Come sign your contract." As simple as that. So
do you ever think to yourself about the way that life is, and
that's the thing, Steve. If sports is in your heart and you put everything to it, even if it's now to get some other things from how I had to learn hard news so that I can be a good researcher, a good producer, a good writer, a good presenter, because after doing all that, I would actually sit in the gallery and watch the presenter at CGTN for 1 full hour. So I even knew how her name, my best presenter was Beatrice Marshall. I knew how she would pronounce each and every word still. What I didn't know is that God was actually preparing me for this other job. And that is how it happened. So each and everything I learned at CGTN came in handy 4 years later. And when I went to that is K24, when I went to K24, I was given everything that I wanted. I was told, this is your show. You can be the producer, you can be the writer, you can be the reporter, you can be the presenter. It is your show, it is your baby. Do whatever you want to do with it, as long as it's on air. And I did it, Steve, with my whole heart. Yes, and it was amazing. Yes,
I can see it, and this is the one thing I tell you, one of the hardest things. I wish I was in front of you now because I could be feeding off that. But and when I first started these Facebook Live things, I found them really difficult at the beginning because I felt that I didn't have that interaction anymore. But I'm feeling every second of it with you because I look at it and I'm going, I know there's one God. The only thing that I don't know is which God it is. I know He's my God and He looks after me, and
yes,
he looks after everybody. And we sometimes don't realize. We sometimes don't realize, but He's there on our shoulder at all times. And whether we think it's the right thing that we should be doing, like yours is the perfect example. You've done all these. You learned how to do every different section, and then when it was your time to come to the line, you came and you went far beyond that. Oh dear me, it's just a wonderful story. And do you
sometimes
sorry.
Okay. Sometimes the one thing I would just want to encourage people is sometimes when you're in the learning process, I was frustrated, but I didn't show my employers that I'm frustrated because at the same time I was learning. I really wanted to do sports. My heart was breathing sports. My mind wanted sports. But at the same time, I still showed up to work. I still wrote the scripts. I still made sure the questions are okay. I still made sure the English is flowing and it's fluent. I made sure that I'm still doing those things, and they paid off later on. So you also, even if you're frustrated, you still have to have that eye of the tiger. You still have to be focused. You still have to be alert, no matter what.
It's funny. It's funny that you should, and it's so strange because you've just brought up the song "Eye of the Tiger" by Survivor. And it's one of my favorites. It is one of my favorites because it's one of those that when you think it's tough, then it's just one of those that picks you back up again. I was talking to a guy yesterday he ran from the north of Qatar all the way to the
south. And that's why I'm like, it's so hot in Qatar. How do you even do that? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wow. And you listen to a story and how he broke it down. And the food was such an important part of it because he was looking forward to something different the next time it was. Mm-hmm. Was just making sure that he was kind of thinking about that whole process. And it just, and I'm listening to your story too. And this is what I keep on saying to people, that athletes, and he surely is an athlete, athletes and people like yourself, presenters, or people that want to get into business or into the sports industry like you are, it's like it takes a certain amount of dedication, enthusiasm. It takes a bit of kind of hard work, blind faith, so that you believe that what you're doing is just the right thing that you should be doing. And you've got to keep on pushing, because there is somebody that's looking after you and you are going in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fantastic story. And what you've done is you've just backed up everything that he's basically, well, every one of our guests that comes on the show, they say in certain ways it's the same attribute. It's the same things. Just keep on working hard. Just keep on believing. Don't care what anybody says to you. You can
Yes,
do it.
yes,
You
yes.
can do it. And you're a true example.
Thank you, thank you. Steve, trust me, I've gone through so much, but I have to encourage people. I think the problem with the world is when we start caring about what other people say. That is when most people can't discover their true potential, because they're like, what will Steve say? What will Shon say? Is this okay with Shon? Not with me. I do not care. As long as I'm doing the right thing, Steve, I will stick to it. If it's time to rest, I will rest. If it's time to push hard, I will push hard. One thing I tell myself is that I do not throw people under the bus when I'm there. First of all, when I'm there, I have to always train. At K24, I literally trained more than 20 youngsters. I have to train people. I have to encourage them. I have to talk to them. I have to push them. I'm not in the business. Whether you come and you're there after 2 months and your star is shining more than mine, I'll be the first one to make noise on top of the roof and push you on and be your first cheerleader, because there's enough space for women who want to be in sport. There's enough space for anyone else, including the men. I'm not just here to encourage the ladies only. I'm encouraging everyone, including the men. There's enough space for all of us, and there's always a time for everyone. And you know, the good thing about life is that if you put your mind to it and if you support other people, things will always work out for you still.
I'm going to get onto a really a difficult subject to talk about, and that's
Yeah.
racism. There's been a lot of
Oh,
that in the news recently, and
yeah.
I've got to be honest. It's like, okay, my stepfather was from 8 years. He brought me up from 8 years old. He was from the West Indies, and
Mm-hmm.
and going back, I'm 53 years old. So when racism back in the UK was extreme, was a lot more than what it is right now. But racism hasn't got a place. It shouldn't have a place in society nowadays, because
Mm-hmm.
we
Mm-hmm.
should be educated enough to say that we're one. We bleed. It's just the skin color. It's
I
not.
know.
That's all it is, and it's a shame. But one thing that I've noticed when you get into areas like us, so whether we're in helping others to get to where they want to do, inspiring,
Mm-hmm.
and I give you 100%. Sometimes it's just telling somebody that I noticed that little thing that you just done, and that was tremendous, because not
Yeah.
everybody's thinking like that. And it could be the smallest thing. It could be when somebody comes up to you, and I've had it recently, when somebody comes up to you and says, you know something, and I had it, and I've said this before, I had it where he invited me to his office, and I went to his office. He said, you don't remember me, do you? And I said, I'm sorry, I don't.
Mm-hmm.
I speak to a lot of people, and I said, he he said, I'm from originally from Sudan, and you inspired me. You told me that I could go and
Oh. Mm-hmm.
I believed in you, and now I've got three businesses. I've got three businesses, and I wanted you to come and share that with me today. And I felt there was a part of me that thought to myself, but I felt good afterwards, because I thought
Yes.
that I say to everybody, and that's what we should be doing as the human race. And as you said, don't throw anybody at the bus. Just help them get over and understand what they've done wrong and how you can improve that. And I don't now in my life. I don't ever see racism. I don't. There is
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be there, because it's a process that we've got to go through, and we're still going through it. And I know some things are a little bit tough, but there are people out there that don't look at the skin color. They just
Mm-hmm.
want to help you succeed. And when you get into a team, like Nazaruddin yesterday said,
Mm-hmm.
he said,
Mm-hmm.
I can do this with my team. And if you look
Yes.
at all of his films, it was every different nationality that was there singing and dancing with him at the end. And that's what we've got to focus on. Those are the
Yeah.
things that we've got to focus on. And you're the people that we've got to focus on, because
Thank you,
you
Steve.
are an inspiration, seriously. And there should be
Thank
no
you.
cut. And the women, I get annoyed with. I'm not annoyed. Sorry, let me get this before I get loads of people shouting at me.
Yeah.
I say, why do we have women empowerment? Why is that? Because I see a woman, I normally see a woman twice as good as I am because of the way
Mm-hmm.
that they can deal with things a lot differently. So I
Mm-hmm.
say, why do you have fun groups? Why do you you go into those groups? And then
Mm-hmm.
I met one lady and she told me the circumstances that she was going through with her sport. And I'm not going to say what it was or whatever, but then
Mm-hmm.
I bowed down to her because I said, you need women empowerment. You need to come
Yeah.
together. You need,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
there's people like you that are struggling, and we need
Mm-hmm.
to help you. But that's
Mm-hmm.
where we're different, where we're both the same. We want to help everybody, no matter
Mm-hmm.
what gender you are, what color you are.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
It
It
doesn't matter,
doesn't
right?
matter, Steve. It doesn't matter.
Doesn't
Yes.
matter.
I know what you're saying, and it's such a sad state of affairs when it comes to what is happening in the world. But sometimes, this is how I say it, Steve, and this is what I tell all my friends and all the people I think I've worked with. I realized so many people are going through so much, and so many people are walking garbage trucks. You understand? But so many people
Yep.
have that in them, and they have to release that one way or the other. So they look for some of the weak spots in life. They look some, it can be violence towards your own partner, and some, with all that dirt, and with all they see, when they see a black person, they want to release all the dirt, and they become racist towards them. So they are walking garbage trucks, and that is
Hmm.
what is taking. That's why the world is taking some steps behind, because of garbage trucks. The thing is, we are all always going through something at some point,
Of
but I
course.
choose to walk with love in my heart. As
Yeah.
much as something is not working in my life, I'm not going to go to work and be very mean to people just because something at home is not working. Or I'm not going to go back home and be mean to people just because something at work is not working. And sometimes people don't know how to differentiate the emotions and feelings and the pain they are going through. And then there's also the fact that some people were taught how to be racist, because no one is born racist. So it's the lack of education, the lack of, you're fed, when you're growing up, you're just fed negativity by your parents or the people around you. They feed you negativity about a certain race, and you grow up with that, and you grow up with so much hate. But at the end of the day, when you break it down, it just comes down to hate and love. People choose to dwell on their hate, and they choose not to learn, and they choose not to educate themselves. Like, it's literally when, like, right now, you told me your stepdad was West Indies. If I don't know something about West Indies, the guys who come from West Indies, you know what I'll do? I'll go to my Google Chrome. It's just on everyone's phone, or any place, or on the laptop, and I'll type West Indies, and that is me. And I want to know. I want to know more about this culture. What do they do? And then I'll go on YouTube, and then by the time I'm down 2 hours, 3 hours down the line, I already know so much about the people from West Indies and what is happening. That is me. I choose to educate myself. I choose to learn. I choose to walk with love in my heart and not hate. Because at the end of the day, hate does not bring anything. Okay, fine. You've become racist. You've made someone's life bad. Then how do you feel at the end of the day? You feel like you've won? The truth is, you go back home and you've not won. The truth is, you go back home and you're still as miserable, actually way more miserable than actually you left that house, and you went on becoming racist and putting people down. No one, you can never spread hate. And you come and lie to me, Steve, that your life is perfect. That is
Yeah.
a lie. That is a
It's,
huge lie. You
yeah.
cannot walk around with hate and you tell me your work is perfect, your family is perfect, your businesses are flowing well. It doesn't work like that in life. It can be.
No.
So I choose to walk with
No.
love, and I pray that the people who are ignorant to actually, for the first time in their lives, to just choose love and to educate themselves. It doesn't hurt. We have been blessed by the internet, so it doesn't hurt to go on the internet and just even go back to the history of the African. Sometimes they say the Africans who don't understand, which sometimes it's true, and I understand, because we haven't been brought up in America. But I choose not to be ignorant. I have actually sat down and I have gone through and researched and read what the African Americans from back in the day, from 400 years ago, had to go through, being slaves, being on the farms, and it's truly hurtful. So if all other people can just do that, it's just a bit of research. Go and learn, educate yourself. You'll actually understand. Sometimes if you can't fit in someone's shoes, just try to see how those shoes can actually fit. You go about it, you educate yourself. So that is what I have done to understand as much as I'm in Africa. But right now, if you ask me about George Floyd and everything that's happening in America, I will tell you, and I will tell you my heart breaks with whatever is going in America, but also the world, because from George Floyd's death, we actually saw various parts of the world, people actually rising up to talk about it. So I hope this is a step forward, and I hope now many generations will understand.
You're doing exactly the thing that I profess is and these are why we're on this conversation today. It wasn't about race, it was about inspiring others. It was listening to somebody's story that you can take something from it and actually fit it into your life. And we're talking about racism now, and it's up to us whether we want to follow in those footsteps. All we can do. I've got four children. I've got 4 grandchildren, and I know for an absolute fact, it didn't matter which color of skin. If somebody fell down in front of us, I would have, well, not 8 of them. There would be 7 because he can't walk yet. But there would be 7 of them queuing to help that person, irrelevant of their skin color. And it's kind of, those are the things that we can do. As you said, you're trying to share your education, your knowledge, your experience with others. And you don't care if they ever get better than yourself, because you want them to achieve whatever they want to do. So that's where the message I want for people, I hope that people see today. It's like, you've chosen sports because the love of your family, the thing that gave you security and love, and you wanted to be closer to your father, so you went to the football matches, you stayed in sport. You got pulled out of sport so that you had to go into something and learn and research for 4 years, something that was weighing on you. And then all of a sudden you had the ability to shine. It's like you had all the other negatives. I bet you cried it sometimes. I bet you had love.
I was stressed. I cried. I felt like my world has come to an end. I just feel like God was laughing. I was like, you're not ready for what I'm preparing you for. So I think he was just laughing at me. But I did all that, and I went through all that. And it actually paid off. Like, the moment I got into now full-time sports, I actually got to travel the world easily. Oh my goodness, Steve, I have interviewed some of the biggest names in the industry.
I'm getting to that next, and you're very... It's like, I want to go through
year, I was in Egypt covering the Africa Cup of Nations also.
So how did you get to meet Thierry Henry? What was that like?
I know. It was so amazing. So I get this phone call, and I'm told, Thierry is coming to Kenya. And you're one of the few people who will actually interview him. I said, who? Thierry, the one and only. I'm like, you guys, are you sure? Me? It was amazing.
I could see you doing your hair.
Yes, I was like, if you watch the interview, I'm like, oh my goodness, is he the one? I'm composed, but inside I'm dying, because first of all, I am meeting my dad's idol. You can imagine, the man who introduced me to football, I'm actually meeting his idol. So I'm just like this. I'm like, this is for you, Dad. This is for you, Dad. I really wanted him to fly and come over to meet him, but he's a businessman, so he's all over the place, so he couldn't make it. But yeah, I was there, and I was just looking at Thierry. I'm like, oh my goodness, you're such a big deal. And I was I was so nervous, but everyone says through that interview I was very composed, and I really thank God for that. But I was so nervous, and I remember I researched. I knew, and I knew about Thierry Henry, but that day I did my research again, just to be sure about each and everything, all the statistics, blah blah blah. And I didn't want to look like I'm reading from a script. Like, this is Thierry. I wanted to look at him the whole time, and I was just like this, and it was so amazing, and he was really appreciative, and I asked all the questions, and then we took photos. Yet we were actually timed when it came to this specific interview, because they're like, oh, you have 7 minutes with Jerry. I'm like, only 7 minutes, because there were also other people who had to actually talk to him and interview him, stuff like that. So it was amazing. I enjoyed myself, and I told him, you're my dad's idol. It's a pleasure. Good, yeah, but there's also Thierry Henry, Rio Ferdinand, and there's so many people. But Thierry,
so many.
The biggest.
Yeah. It
For
was
me, Thierry Henry Henry and Peter Drury. Those are my biggest interviews.
Peter Drury. Yeah,
Yes.
fantastic. It was brilliant. And what's your before we because without a shadow of a doubt, we've been going now for nearly 45 minutes, and that's the love of this
Oh,
job,
wow.
right? This is
I
the love.
didn't realize it's 45 minutes. Yes.
Exactly. The one thing that I was going to say to you, what's your ambition? What other ambition? I wanted to just put in there as well, slip something in. How many people have you got working for your TV show now?
How many people?
How many people are working in your TV show? How many people have you got working on it?
Oh, this is local media. You do everything by yourself.
Right.
Yes, local media, you do everything for yourself. But the international media is when you have like a whole team. But local, you have to be versatile because they don't actually.
But still, that's really good. It's like you've got to
Yeah.
do everything. Like one of those things. It's
Yes.
brilliant. And what's your
Yes.
ambitions? What's
I can't
the
wait
ambition?
for the next stage and next step. What is my ambition for?
What's your ambitions? Have you got any ambitions or more goals to reach?
Yes, I feel I think I have to do this. This is what everyone is asking me to do, whatever Steve is doing, but now with the guests. Because Steve, you have to admit that everything is changing, and now I feel like it's time for the digital age, and I feel like whether you escape from it, you just have to come back to the digital age, and that is currently what is happening right now. And most of the time, especially when I started this the past 3 months, the interviews I did, I got so many fans, I got so many people, because once again, Steve, I said when you support people and when you talk to people, you will always evolve. So when this coronavirus hit the world so hard, we decided. I remember I was with my friend Karen, who's also a workmate. We were like, what difference can we do? How can we be different from the other people? And we decided, why not? Karen is very good in athletics. I'm very good in football. So let's look for each and every person who matters right now in the world. And we're not just going for the Kenyan market. We are going for the people in the world. And she also got some big names. She got like Christian Taylor, the athlete. Like she also like some really huge names. She got he's Kenyan, but like people see him as a world icon. That is Eliud Kipchoge, the biggest marathon of all time. He's Kenyan, but he's also a big deal. And on my side, I decided, you know what, Kenyans love the Premier League. So what do we do? And that's when I did my interviews with Peter Drury. I did with Emil Heskey. I did, oh my goodness, the list. Mark Clattenburg, the referee, who did the UEFA Champions League final in 2016. And he also came to the show and talked about the controversial game he had with Chelsea and Manchester United. That I think is in 2012. So it's so amazing because, there's so many fans, football fans, and everyone was tuning in. We did it with Jim Begling, that is Peter Drury's partner in crime when it comes to commentating. And it was so amazing because they're the first ones who did the ones who did the commentary for the Manchester City Arsenal game. During the opening weekend, and everyone's like, yeah, we know. So, now bringing these people to the Kenyan television made Kenyans actually know them and feel like, there's something people start feeling like they know them. That's what you do as a presenter. You try to make this news feel normal to the people you present to. And it was amazing. And the ratings were really high. And I will always thank God for that. But you see, that's the thing. When you sit down and you respect people and you support them, we sat down with Karen, we came up with an idea, and it became huge in the country, Steve. So my next stage. Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you, my eye is well and truly on you. I've seen work you're doing, and I'm using you as a little benchmark that I can keep on chasing. I know we're going to do work together because I'm
Yes.
a back yourself because
Yes,
when I first started talking to you was maybe we can bring somebody on with you, a top Kenyan person, sports person, that we can start this, so that we can do this on a regular basis, so that we can start communicating between countries. That's the most important. That's the most important. So
you cannot deny the digital age. It's here, and you have to adapt to it. And the most weird thing, especially in Kenya, we have when it comes to the internet, the sports. I'm just used to sports infrastructure. No, when it comes to the internet infrastructure in the country, it's really good. Kenya has one of the fastest internet in the world. In the world, someone told me it's better than even the New York connection. Like, wow, that's amazing. And when it comes to people watching stuff online, it's actually a huge and a big deal. And some of the pages, the Facebook pages and the Facebook profiles doing numbers, and the YouTube profiles doing numbers are bigger than even what the TV is doing in Kenya right now. So this is the time, this is the way to go. And I think Corona, during this pandemic, is when people realize the power of the internet. So let's do this, Steve. I'm excited. We can bring all those people back again to this page and everything.
You have set at a real good level for me. I'm heading for it, okay? And I want to work with you, and I want to do things with you because I'm behind you 100%. We've got to spread the word. We've got to put that spotlight on people. We've got to tell them how sure they. Yeah. And let me tell you, I am privileged to have put the spotlight on you today because you young lady, is a fantastic inspiration to people in Kenya and all over the world. And it's been an absolute privilege and an honor for you for us to have had you on the show today.
I'm also humbled to talk to you. So I can't wait to see what we'll be doing next. And we need to talk to all these people again, because I feel like, sometimes we have like, a certain time, there's a way you ask the questions, there's a way you can't do this, but now the beauty of social media, it's like once you have your run and it's running and it's nice, you can do this, you can be so creative, and you can be so, and you can also bring out that funny side about the footballers, the commentators and all that, because you want to ask them like normal questions, because people also want to relate to that side of life, but on TV you can't do that because there's a certain script that you have to follow.
I don't want to do any of that. If you gave me a script, I'll tell you, I'm running out that door. I'm gone. If you gave me a script to read, I'm going. I'm gone. I don't want to do it.
That is the problem of TV. You see how we were there, and I was like asking you, okay, Steve, what are we talking about? What are we going to do? Like, no, Shon, we just one question and we'll flow. I'm like, okay, this is different, because if you go talk to Peter and you talk to Emil and you talk to Mark, I feel like they have all my questions in their inboxes. Exactly. I'm like writing emails. I'm like, hi Peter, what's your email? Let me send you the questions, because that's the TV style. And but you see, the world is evolving, and we have to adapt to the new technology. We have to adapt with the changing ways. That's the thing.
Now, I'm going to ask you one more question before we go. How did you enjoy the show today? Did you enjoy our talk?
Oh, amazing. I'm like, how many minutes? We were supposed to do this for 2 hours. Yeah, but this was amazing. Sometimes it's really amazing when someone is, what can I say? When someone else asks you the questions, because I'm always the one asking the questions. I feel like we need to do one soon where I'm the one asking you the questions, so that you tell us your journey, Steve. 100%. You tell us, so we'll plan that. It's so amazing how I just sat here and, just talking to you and letting it all out. I hope I've said everything, but, I'm on social media, Shon Osimbo, SHON, they're written there, on Facebook and LinkedIn, everywhere. Just ask me anything to whoever is watching. I'll be glad to answer. And I know this is not our last show with Steve. Yeah,
it's not going to be the last one, but send me your all your WhatsApp. Send me a WhatsApp with all your social media so that I can link it all. And I just got to say one more thing. Thank you so much from deep within. You've been brilliant.
Welcome, Steve. Thank you too.
Your smile, everything is being infectious.
Thank you.
You are brilliant. Thank you so much indeed. And I look forward to working with you.
And Qatar 2022, here we come.
Yes, don't forget, and you'll be a guest of mine. So everybody, thank you so much for everybody watching today, listening today. It's been
I can see the comments. Wow. Thank you guys. I can see the comments.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. It's been an unbelievable show. I hope you got as much from this show as I did. It was fantastic, especially this lady is something special. If you are a lady and you're trying to break into the market, take a listen to this. Listen to it over and over and over again, because there's an inspiration. You can do it too. Everybody, next week we've got some fantastic guests on. We've got coming on. Paul is going to come on and talk about strength. And he's actually originally from Ghana. He's coming on the show and talking about strength and explosive power, because he was a sprinter. And then
Hi, Paul.
Paul's going to come on. He's a great guy. Karen is going to be on again. And then we've got somebody from India, the president of the FA for Delhi, and he's going to come and talk us about the development of football in India. So it's going to be a great week next weekend. So thank you very much, Shon.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Steve. This was so much fun. I'm seeing the comments coming in. Thank you, everyone. Continue watching, Steve, and everyone in Qatar. Hi.
Yeah, good on you. Everybody,
okay,
bye for now.
Much.
Thank you so much.
Do not give up. Do not give up, people. Do not give up.
Brilliant. That's the best thing that I've heard. Heart.
Good
on you. Well done.
Yeah.
Keep going. Keep going.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Steve.